Greetings, candidates, and welcome back to the fixed income investments analysis revision session. Today we are continuing with the revision of the December 2023 paper. Now, in today's session, we'll answer question 2, A, B, and C. Question 2A, I read, explain two types of bonds with embedded options. 4 marks. Explain two types of bonds with embedded options. Now, candidates, there are several types of bonds that come with embedded options, meaning they offer the issuer or the investor additional rights beyond the basic promise of principal repayment and the fixed interest payments. Do you understand? There are several types of bonds that promise the issuer or the investor additional rights beyond the basic principal repayments and fixed interest payments. The candidates were required to explain two types. Now, there are very many types, candidates. One type is called the callable bonds. Number 2 is the puttable bonds. Number 3, we have the convertible bonds and the extendable bonds, amongst many other types. Candidates were to explain two. So let us put down the 4. These are types of bonds with embedded options. Types of bonds with embedded options. I first mentioned the callable bonds. What are callable bonds? These bonds grant the issuer the right to redeem the bond before its maturity date at a predetermined price. Callable. The issuer can redeem it before its maturity date. And that can be beneficial for the issuer if interest rates will fall and they can reissue the debt at a lower cost. Callable bonds. Number 2, puttable bonds. Puttable bonds. Puttable bonds. Now, puttable bonds grant the investor the right to sell the bond back to the issuer at a predetermined price. They grant the investor the right to do what? To sell the bond back to the issuer at a predetermined price or on or before specific dates. On or before the specific dates. And that offers protection to the investor if interest rates rise, allowing them to exit the bond and also potentially reinvest their money at higher rates elsewhere. Puttable bonds. Puttable bonds. 3, convertible bonds. Convertible bonds. You can guess the meaning, candidates, from the word converting. Convertible. Now, these bonds come with the option to convert the bond into predetermined number of shares. These are shares of the issuer's common stock at a specific price and specific time frame. This bond allows investors to benefit from the potential stock price appreciation while still receiving the regular interest payments of the bond. Convertible bonds. These bonds can be converted into the common stock of the company. Convertible bonds. Extendable bonds. Extendable bonds. Number 4. Extendable bonds. These bonds grant the investor the right to extend the bond or to extend the maturity of the bond for a predetermined period at their own discretion. And that can be beneficial if interest rates are expected to decline in the future, allowing investors to do what? To lock in the current higher interest rates for a longer period of time. So these are 4 types of bonds with embedded options. 1, callable bonds. 2, puttable bonds. 3, convertible bonds. 4, extendable bonds. 4 marks. Any 2 marks here? Any 2 points will earn 4 marks. Now, moving on to part B of this question, I read, a floating rate note with a quoted margin of 90 basis points is selling for 98 shillings and matures in 4 years. Required Roman 1, calculate the floater spread for life. Calculate the floater spread for life. Now, candidates, when a floater is selling at a premium or at a discount to par, investors consider the premium or discount as an additional source of shilling return. So the spread for life, which is also known as the simple margin, is a measure of potential return that accounts for the amortization of the discount, as well as the constant quoted margin over the securities remaining life. Candidates here were to calculate the spread for life. The spread for life. So what is the formula for spread for life? Spread for life. This is B Roman 1. What is the formula for spread for life? Now, the formula for spread for life is equal to 100 into 100 minus the price over maturity plus the quoted margin. This we multiply by 100 over price. So step number 1, put down the formula. So here we have the formula. Then step number 2, we go to the question and find out if you have these inputs. The first one here is price. Now price is the market price per 100 shillings of par value. 100 shillings of par value. In this question, we read, a floating rate note with a quoted margin of 90 basis points is selling for 98 shillings and matures in 4 years. So 98 shillings is the price. It is the market price per 100 shillings of par value. So that is the market price. Then we have maturity. Maturity is the number of years to maturity. Number of years to maturity. In this question, the number of years to maturity is 4 years and matures in 4 years. So these two we have directly from the question. Then we have the quoted margin. The quoted margin in the coupon rate reset is the basis. This is the 90 basis points. That is the 90 basis points. All right, we have it at 90. That is the quoted margin. I can read it. It says a floating rate note with a quoted margin of 90. So the quoted margin here is 90. The basis points of 90. Then this price is the same as this other price. So candidates, you can see we have all the inputs provided. Therefore, the spread for life is equal to 100 into 100 minus 98, which is the price, over 4 years, plus 90 times 100 over 98. That's going to give us the spread for life, which is equal to, I take my machine, I'll use my machine, it's 142.85, 142.85, 182.85, 182.85 basis points. That is the spread for life. Roman 2, I read, explain two limitations of the discount margin as a measure of the potential return from investing in a floating rate security. Number one, it assumes that the reference rate will not change. It assumes that the reference rate will not change over the life of the security. It assumes, this is an assumption of the discount margin, it assumes that the reference rate will not change over the life of the security. That is a limitation. Now, the second, caps and floors are not taken into consideration. Are not taken consideration. Caps and floors are not taken into consideration. What does that mean? Now, if the floating rate security has a cap or a floor, this is not taken into consideration, and that is a disadvantage. It's a limitation. So these are two limitations. 1, 2. These are just assumptions, which are also limitations. 2 marks. So we've answered at A and B. A is up to this point. B1, this is B1. And this should be 142, not 148. This calculation gives us 142.85 basis points. Then let us move on to answer part C, which reads that the Treasury spot rate curve is as follows. We have 3 columns: period, years to maturity, and spot rate in percentage. Below the table, I read that the market price of a 4-year 6% coupon non-treasury issue is 91 shillings and 40 cents. Candidates were required to determine whether the zero volatility spread relative to the treasury spot rate curve for this issue is 80 basis points, 90 basis points, or 100 basis points, 4 marks. Roman 2, calculate the 6% forward rate 3 years from now, 3 marks. Roman 3, calculate the 1-year forward rate 2 years from now, 3 marks. That is the question. So we are provided with the information that gives rise to the treasury spot rate curve. We have 8 periods. Then you are given years to maturity and the spot rate in percentage. So Roman 1, determine whether the zero volatility spread, which is the Z spread, relative to the treasury spot rate curve, relative to the treasury spot rate curve for this issue is 80 basis points, 90 basis points, or 100 basis points. Now, candidates, the Z spread relative to the treasury spot rate curve is the spread that when added to all the treasury spot rates will produce a present value that is equal to the market price, which in this case is the 91 shillings 40.83. You understand? That is to mean that the Z spread, which is also known as the static spread, is calculated as the spread that will make the present value of the cash flows from the non-treasury bond when discounted when it is discounted at the treasury spot rate plus the spread equal to the non-treasury bonds price, non-treasury bonds price. That is the formula, candidates, that to determine whether the zero volatility spread relative to the treasury spot rate curve for this is 80 basis points or 90 basis points or 100 basis points, we are going to calculate the present values at assumed spread of 80 basis points, the 90 basis points, and the 100 basis points. We're going to get the present values at each of these basis points, the 80, the 90, and the 100. Then the present value that corresponds to the market price of the non-treasury issue will be the Z spread. So that's the approach. First of all, we are going to calculate the present values at 80 basis points, at 90 basis points, and 100 basis points. So we're going to have the table, with the table provided in the question, the period. So we are at that point. So you have period. We're going to have a column for the period. You'll have a column for years to maturity. Years. From the table, you also have the spot rate. The spot rate. So this is the information we have, candidates. We may need to have also a column for the cash flow. We need to have a column for the cash flows and the present values at first 80 basis points. We have 90 present values at 90 basis points and at 100 basis points. Present value 100 basis points. So we need to calculate these present values at 80, the present values at 90, the present values at 100. Then we check the one that corresponds to the market price of the non-treasury issue. That will be the Z spread. That will be the Z spread. Are you following, candidates? That is the formula. That will be our formula. That will be our formula. Use my ruler. We have periods from the question, 8 periods, 8. Years to maturity, 0.5, 1.0, 2.0, 2.5, 3.0, 3.5. This is 1.5, 1.5, 2.0, 2.5, 2.5, 3.0, 3.5, and 4.0. These are values from the curve, the treasury spot rate curve. We have the period. Then candidates, we have the spot rate. This spot rate given in the question is an annual spot rate, and therefore we need to convert it to a semi-annual spot rate. So we are going to divide, this should be semi-annual spot rate. 5.0 we divide by 2, convert it into a semi-annual spot rate. That will give us 2.5. Next one is 2.0, 2.7, 2.9%. Then the fourth period, the annual spot rate is 6.4. Divide by 2, that will be 3.2%. Period number 5 is 7%. Divide by 2, that will give us 3.5%. Number 6, 3.6%. Then 7 equals to 3.7%. Then lastly, 3.9%. 3.9%. These are the semi-annual spot rates for each period. Then the cash flows. The cash flows. We are required to calculate the cash flows. The cash flows. Now, candidates, the cash flows will be obtained from the coupon rate, which is 6%. The cash flows will be the coupon rate of 6%. And from the question we read that the market price of this coupon is 91.4083 shillings, and therefore the cash flow will be equal to just the coupon amount. The cash flow is simply the coupon amount. The cash flow is the coupon amount. And how do we calculate the coupon amount? The coupon amount will be calculated by first dividing the interest rate of 6% by 2, because it's semi-annual. Then this we multiply by the par value of this treasury bond, which is 100. Now, where did I get this 100? This 100, candidates, is assumed from the market price. The market price is 91.4083, and therefore the par value of this non-treasury issue is 100. So this will give us the cash flow, which is the coupon amount. So 6% divided by 2, that will give us 3%. 3% times 100 is equal to 3 shillings. This is the cash flow, and it is an annuity. So we are going to run it down from period 1, 3 shillings, 3 shillings, 3 shillings, 3 shillings. That is the cash flow. Then we move on to calculate the present value. The present value assumed, candidates, at the 80 basic points. Then we calculate the present value assumed at the 90 basic points, present value assumed at 100 basic points. Then the answers we are going to get down here, we will then compare with the non-treasury bonds price. So the one that will be equal to the 91 0.4083 shillings, that will be the spread. That will be the answer that we are looking for. Do you understand? And that's the formula. We noted at the beginning of this question that the Z spread, we are determining the Z spread. We say that the Z spread, which is also known as the static spread, is calculated as the spread that will make the present value of the cash flows from the non-treasury bond when discounted at the treasury spot rate plus the spread equal to the non-treasury bonds price. So the amounts that we get here, we are going to compare and find out which one is equal to 91.4083 shillings. So what's the formula for calculating the present value of this cash flow? The present values of this cash flow. We are going to discard these cash flows at this period. We are going to discount the 3 shillings at each period, then we total the amounts. So the present value will be equal to the cash flow times 1 we divide by 1 plus semi-annual portrait plus the basis point. We divide the basis point by 2, then all these we raise to n. So we are discounting this cash flow of 3 shillings. We are to get the present value of these 3 shillings at every period, and this is the formula. We are going to take the 3 shillings, then we multiply by this factor. This is a factor, discounting factor. All this is a discounting factor. So we are required to calculate this, to discount these 3 shillings at every period. At every period at 80 BPS, we do the same for 90 BPS, we do the same for 100 BPS. So what is important for you to know and memorize, first of all, is the formula. So that will be equal to, let's first calculate the present value period 1 at 80 BPS. This is going to be equal to 1 over 1 plus the semi-annual spot rate. The semi-annual spot rate. What is the semi-annual spot rate here? The semi-annual spot rate is 2.5%. This is a percentage, 2.5%. So we convert this 2.5 into decimal, and that will give us 0.025 plus the basis point. So candidates, how do we calculate the basis point? How do we calculate the basis point? We know that 100 basis points, we know that 100 basis points is equal to 0.01. And therefore, 80 basis points will be equal to 80 basis points over 100 basis points times 0.01. So we can determine the basis point there. 0. Am I doing the right thing? This will cancel out. This will cancel out. So I only have here Yes, this is 0.008. So we'll add here 0.008 divide by 2, divide by 2. So all these we raise to 1. We raise to 1. All right, that is it. So we are going to calculate that. This will be equal to, so I'm getting here 2.91545. That is the present value of these 3 shillings, period 1, at 80 BPS. It's 2.91545. We are going to do the same, use the same formula, candidates, to calculate at period 2. At period 2, the cash flow will not change. The cash flow is still 3 shillings. What will change is the semi-annual rate. The semi-annual rate period 2, semi-annual rate is 2.7, and that will be equal to, as a percentage, when converting to a decimal, we have 27. This is just 27. 27, that is what we change. 27. This will not change because we are calculating at 80 BPS, basic points. And the period will change to 2, right? The period will be 2 here. So this will be equal to period 2, present value 2.82230. Moving on to year 3. Year 3, the cash flows remain. The semi-annual rate, third period, 2.9. So we have here 2.9, 3 years, raised to 3. So I'm going to have equal to 2.72157. That is the present value, period 3. Period 4, period 4, period 4. What changes the semi-annual spot rate? Period semi-annual spot rate, that is 3.2, 32. The period is 4, and the answer is 2.60425. 2.60425. 2.60425. Right. Moving on, period 5, the semi-annual spot rate 3.5%. So there we change to 3.5, 0.035. The period is 5. The basis points remain. We're going to have hope you are confirming these figures, candidates. 2.47768. 2.47768. That is period 5. Period 6, 3.6%. 3.6%. This is 3.6%. Period 6. Period 6. That's it. 2.37094. Moving on. Period 7, 3.5%. 3.5%. 3.5. We change that to 7. 3.7, not 3.5. So this will be equal to 2.26447. 2.26447. That is period 7. Now period 8, candidates, you need to be keen here. Period 8, we are not only going to discount the cash flow or the coupon amount, but also we will discount not only the interest but also the coupon amount of 100. We have the the repayment, which is an annuity of 3 shillings, but there is also the coupon amount, which is 100, which is 100 plus 3. So we are going to discount 100 shillings plus 3 shillings. That is what will be recouped at the end of the 8th year. We have the cash flow and the coupon amount. So we're going to, that is the change that you need to note. So we're going to have here 1 over 1 plus 0 point, the semi-annual spot rate 3.9, 0.039 plus the basis point remains 0.08, 0.08 divided by 2 raised to 8. This is what we are discounting, which will be equal to 54, not 54, but 73.54663. Getting here 73.54663. So we've done the present values at 80 basic points. We are going to do the same for the 90 basic points. 90 basic points. Now, candidates at 90 basic points, you see the first period, the semi-annual spot rate. The semi-annual spot rate is 2.5%, but the basis point is going to change. This is what is going to change. So here we have 2.5%, 0.25. What will change is the basis point, and we saw that 100 basis points is equivalent to 0.01, and therefore 90 basis points will be equal to 90 over 100 times 0.01, which will be equal to 0.009. So this is what is going to change, and it's going to be constant throughout the 8 periods. It will be constant throughout the 8 periods. So for year 1, this will be equal to, this gives me 2.91403. 1403. It's 2.91403. Moving on to the second period. Moving on to the second period, we're going to have a change here. Second period, the semi-annual spot rate is 2.7%. 2.7%. This will be equal to 2.81957. 2.81957. Third period, semi-annual, the semi-annual spot rate, 2.9. 2.9. We raise to 3, giving us 2.71763. 2.71763. That is the third year or third period. The fourth period, 3.2 is the annual semi-annual spot rate, 3.2. Annual spot rate, 3.2. This is the 4. What will be the present value there? The present value year 4 will be 2.59923. 2.59923. Year 5, what is the semi-annual spot rate year 5? Year 5 semi-annual spot rate 3.5. 3.5 raised to 5. Year 5 is equal to 4772. 2.4 7172. Year 6 semi-annual spot rate 3.6. 3.6 raised to 6. Are you following, candidates? I'm only changing the semi-annual spot rate and the period. At year 6, we have this is 2.36411. Year 6, 2.6411. Year 7, semi-annual spot rate year 7, that is period 7, 3.7. Change this, 3.7. The period is 7. The present value, 7. That will be 2.25687. 2.25687. Then lastly, we are going to have the coupon amount plus the cash flow or the interest, 103. We multiply by 1 over 1 plus 0. The semi-annual spot rate, the 8th period semi-annual spot rate 3.9, 0.039 plus 0.009 divided by 2, we raise to 8. That will be the final present value there. 73 shillings, 26,518. 73.26,518. That's it for the 90 BPS. 90 BPS. We are moving on, candidates, to the last column. This is the last column. The last column. And we will start with the first period. The first period, What is the semi-annual spot rate? The semi-annual spot rate, the first period is 2.5%. 2.5%. This is 0.025. The basis point candidates, we know that 100 basis points is equivalent to 0.01. Therefore, 100 basis points will be equal to 0.01. Equal to 0. Will be equal to 0. Be equal to 100 over 100 times 0.01. All right, which is equal to 0.01. So here the basis point changes to 0.01, which will apply from period 1 to period 8. From period 1 to period 8. And therefore, the present value first period will be equal to 2.91262. Next is the semi-annual spot rate, 2.7%. 2.7%, 2 periods. Second period. $2.81684. The third period, 2.9. We change here, 2.9. We raise here to 3 periods. We calculate to get 2.71369. Now moving on to the fourth period, the semi-annual spot rate 3.2. 3.2 raised to 4. This will be equal to 2.59422. The fifth period, semi-annual spot rate 3.5%. 5. 2.46578. 2.46578. Period 6, semi-annual spot rate 3.6. 3.6 raised to 6. Period 6, 2.35731. Period 7, semi-annual spot rate 3.7. So we change here to 3.7. 3.7 raised to 7. 3.7 raised to 7. This will be equal to 2.24930. Then the last period we are going to take the coupon amount, which is 100, plus the cash flow of 3 shillings, which is a total of 103. Then we multiply with 1 over 1 plus 0.0, semi-annual rate 3.9, this is 39, plus 0.01, this does not change, then we raise to 8. That will be present value there, 72.98494. 72.98494. That is the present value, the 8th period. After that, we are going to sum these present values. We're going to get the total here, get the total there, get the total here. So the addition, we do the addition. £91, 91.72328. Present value at 90 BPS. It's 91.40833. Present value total at 100 BPS. That's it. Now, candidates, you can see that we've calculated the present values at 80 BPS, at 90 BPS, and at 100 BPS. And we say that after computing these present values, we then compare with the price, the market price of a 4-year 6% coupon non-treasury issue. And the one that is equal to this market price, we said that is the Z spread. And you can see 91.4083. This is the 91.4083. So you can see when a 90 basis point spread is used, the present value of the cash flow is equal to the price of the 6% coupon non-treasury issue at 91 shillings 4083 cents. And therefore, the Z spread is the 90 basis points. The Z spread is the 90 basis points. That is the answer. Because remember, the question read, determine whether the zero volatility spread, which is the Z spread, relative to the treasury spot rate curve for this issue is 80 basis. Is it 80 basis points? Is it 90 basis points? Or is it 100 basis points? The answer is the Z spread is the 90 basis points. The Z spread, that is the answer. The Z spread is the 90 basis. The Z spread is the 90 basis point. That is the answer.